So I just want to make a quick video just to talk about my childhood. I guess I know that I'm Malaya or was, but I kind of didn't really know like the order in which was she first or me first, and I don't know. It's hard to know how or what happened or anything, so I haven't really known. But I feel like I've come up with a solution that I feel makes sense to me, and I kind of just want to talk about all the reasons why it makes sense. Um, my parents, my mum is very stupid, and she has bad habits such as I don't know, she didn't brush her teeth when she was younger and she ended up with loads of fillings. Okay, the dentist might have she might have had a corrupt dentist who gave her more fillings than she needed, because they were reported, and this doctor basically gave people twice as many fillings on average than normal. So they think that he was giving people false fillings, but at the same time, she does have about quite a lot in her mouth, and I think that when I was a cave person I had really bad teeth, and I believe that my mum would be similar to how I was, like, even though I would have been sort of brought up feral child and stuff. I just think the Matrix would have seen how I was. I would have been a feral child, but at the same time I would have tried to have some sort of normalization, because I guess before that I would have been God, or I'm not too sure the order on what I would have, what I would remembered or known or anything, but it would have affected the soul that I was forming on Earth. If I would have had any subconscious memories of other lives that I've had on other planets, I don't know, but I know that a life like that would have pretty much wiped out my whole memory, and probably given me some really bad habits. And yeah, part of when I was in this life, I don't know, I struggled to read when I was young. I guess it was because of the dyslexia that I have. I think I learned how to read when I was about 7, but it was really basic. And my sister was 4 years younger than me, and I know she was reading before me. And my sister's not particularly very bright, but if my sister was Princess Margaret of the 14th century in her past life, then she might have not learnt how to read or write. I don't know, because a lot of women in the past weren't actually taught and stuff like that, so that doesn't mean that she would have learned how to read and write, but she would have definitely learned English, and she would have definitely had learnt language and stuff, whereas I don't believe that I really learnt a language when I was a cave person. I believe that I would have invented words and I would have tried to form language, but I don't believe a language existed. So everything would have been kind of sign language or something like that. But I feel like I wouldn't have had that much communication, hence why I've got a dad. My dad is kind of smart, but he's kind of autistic, like he doesn't really speak that much or doesn't really say that much, or it's hard to get a conversation from him. So I feel like my parents, even though they're not savage like I would have been, but the thing is, I don't even know if I really was savage. Like I can imagine, I like exploring. I have this I've always had this need to just want to find like some sort of river and then just follow it, and so I feel like my soul came straight. So after Dada died, I don't know what happened to my soul, but just got put in pause for thousands of years, and then it's come back. And then if I kind of think about, I went through some really weird fashion senses when I was 12. I don't know, just the idea of not showing your shoulders, like shoulders, can't say it. But yeah, I don't know where that came from, but I know that in the church they always say you should cover your shoulders, and I don't know where I got that, because I was never religious or anything, but for some reason I picked up on this need to want to always like hide myself, and I don't really know where that came from, but I know that it was around the age of 14 when it stopped. Like boarding school was from 13. I joined boarding school when I was 13 and I left when I was 16, and I think it was the first year that I do remember having, I don't know, I never really tried with my hair, or never really tried with my looks. Like I wasn't that I don't know. I wasn't. I think I was very dyslexic still, and I was very ashamed of it, and I didn't want people to see or notice. So I spent most of the first year in boarding school like being really kind of um, uh, held back. I didn't want people to know that I was dyslexic, so I tried to hide myself as much as I could. Hence, I didn't want to be. But I noticed in the second year when I was at boarding school, I did feel very different. And I'm thinking about when Aaliyah died. She died in August, so it would have been just before I went back to school. I think it would have been in the summer holidays, and we go back in September. Is it beginning of end of August or beginning of September? So it would have been like a week later or something that I went back to school, and it's strange how I'm trying to think about like that day that I had a dream. So I had I was on the sofa. I remember that I was on the lying sleeping on the sofa in my parents' flat in the living room, and that was when I fell asleep, and then I just had a dream that I was her. But it was weird because I remember like wearing the trousers, and I remember just a few things, and I was her. And then I had a flash of going into being in a small airplane and dying through that. And then I turned on the TV to find that singer who I didn't really know that much about. I didn't really follow her. I thought she had 2 or 3 songs, but that was all I knew about her. But I heard she died on a plane crash, and it was interesting because I was like, that was the girl I just had a dream that I was. And but yeah, I don't really remember that much, but I'm trying to think like, did I change as a person? You know, if I died that night, and it seems weird that someone like a 14-year-old would just randomly die, but at the same time, I don't know if I did or not, but I feel like even if I didn't die, I feel like my soul was kind of like printed or copied, and then I somehow went back time and then just lived a whole life and then jumped back into my own body. That's kind of what I'm thinking has happened now, because I'm thinking about all the things like the type of person that I was. You know, Whitney Houston's song "I Will Always Love You." You know, that was definitely my best song, and I always thought she was the best singer. Okay, Ariana. I felt like Ariana sort of became better later on, but yeah, Whitney Houston I thought was better than Christina Aguilera, and Christina Aguilera was probably the second best. But I thought, but that you know, that Whitney Houston song was really, really good, and I really wanted for her to be my mum around that age. I probably would have chosen her or Madonna, but I think Whitney Houston was a bit more, like, I didn't know about all the drug problems that she had at that time, but I feel like she was a little bit more respected maybe. But yeah, I didn't actually know much else about. I just like that song a lot. But yeah, I know that I had a best friend called Bieber who, you know, we were really close. I think we were still friends in the first year, but she kind of made me choose between her and this other girl who I became friends with in boarding school. And I did later choose her, but I know that I was very close with this girl, and she had a father who I didn't see that often, but once or twice a few times we went into this house that he'd split up with her mother, but there was a computer. I remember there being like a computer screen, and he was making music on this computer screen, and we were talking about setting up a band together. And I don't know, it was just, we had this small conversation about me and Bieber. She was kind of like Mel B. She looked like Mel B, and I kind of looked like Emma, the baby Spice. And I feel like we had sort of slight fantasies of wanting to set up a band together, and him helping us. And so I feel like just that small kind of conversation that we had, I feel like it made me really wish that my father was like that. And he was very dark. Her mum is white, and her father was very dark skinned, hence why she was sort of mixed race. But yeah, I don't know. I envied her a bit because of this. You know, my parents were together, but they were always fighting, always arguing in some sort of messy. My mum's a complete hoarder. My dad wasn't untidy at that point, but because of living with my mum for so long, he's just slowly become a hoarder and messy and does never clean, and I don't know, it wasn't nice being in our family, and her family was separated, so it'd be weird to think, why would someone who's with parents that are together be jealous of someone that has parents that are separated, and her mum was living in a single room at the time. But I liked her mum. She was very I don't know, she was just fun, and she got on well with everyone, and you know, the link, her dad was interested in music, so and then to, you know, I think when I was 14, it was probably about a year or two after, um, after, but I don't know, because I didn't see her that much in that year, that but I don't know, that would have been just how I was. Was really big fan on R&B, um, and what else do I want to say? And I know I had bad health problems. I had massive bad health problems because I wasn't eating at boarding school, and I was getting more and more depressed. I didn't like being treated like a child. But yeah, if I'm trying to think, like, did I change in the first year versus the second year? You know, if I did sort of die at that point and then lived a full life and jump back in, sometimes you do this where you have a dream, and you have a dream that you're someone else living in someone else's body, someone else. I actually have this quite often. I don't know if you have a dream where you're someone else, and then when you start remembering who you are, you wake up and you start remembering who you are, and all the memories come back. You know, I know that when I had that dream about Aaliyah, that's exactly how I felt. Like I lived someone else's life, and then when I woke up on that sofa, it was like, oh, I'm here still. Like, oh, I'm in this room still. I'm in this situation with these horrible parents. You know, I definitely remember that about that dream, because it was such a realistic dream, and it was one of the best because it was something that I wanted to fulfill. I wanted to be a singer, and I don't know huge amounts about Aaliyah's parents, but I know that her dad probably is very similar to Bieber's dad, and and her mom is probably similar to Whitney Houston. I wouldn't have got Whitney Houston and the Older Souls because I myself would have only been about 40. I was 26 when I died at Darla, when Darla died, I believe, and then I would have had another 14 years, so that would have made me 40. And so I would have been given parents, maybe not that were that young. I feel like The Matrix does count your age, so if you have a young age, you're likely to be given young parents. But there are such things as fast developers where a person like changes a lot over a short period of time, and therefore, even though they've only had a very short number of lives on Earth, or number of years being alive on Earth, they've managed to gain a high level of understanding or a high level of intelligence, and therefore you might be given a parent that's on their fourth life, even if you're on your first life, if you gained a huge amount of life in any years before or whatever. And so that's, yeah. But I remember having, in the second year, of boarding school, so I was there for 3 years. In the first year I was very, very quiet and hardly ever spoke because I knew my dyslexia was bad. But I do remember there being a massive change from the first year to the second year, because in the second year it didn't go away, but it was so much better. Like, I was spelling absolutely everything wrong in at A level, and no, not A level. It was in the first year. I just remember being like so dyslexic that I couldn't write a sentence without spelling almost everything wrong. Like, that's how bad it was. And then in the second year, I remember feeling a lot more confident because I'd probably be making 2 mistakes in every sentence, which was less. And I remember there being a big leap, a big difference. Still making mistakes, but not as many, and therefore I became a lot more confident. And then I had this phase of wanting to have a different hairstyle every single day, and this was in the second year of boarding school. And I don't know why, but my fashion sense changed massively in that second year, and I just thought it was normal. You know, when you get older, this is kind of what happens. You get older and you grow. I used to always wear stuff underneath strap tops, and I remember in the second year thinking, why the hell did I do that? Like, that's such a awful look. You know, in my 12th birthday, I wore this, it's like blue top with a sort of purple dress, but I had a blue top underneath, and it looked so wrong and so terrible. But I didn't notice until the second year, and I kind of It's like, yeah, I'm never going to do that again. And I noticed there was a massive change in that year between my fashion sense, and I suddenly wanted to start exposing more clothes, and I started feeling better and looking better and feeling more confident, and even though I still was dyslexic, I remember it feeling so much better. Like I'd not healed it, but I felt more confident that I could do stuff more, and I was able to remember things a lot better. And then I had this weird phase where I wanted to have a different hairstyle every single day, and I did achieve it, but by the end of the year, my hair started falling out, because the first it was just like 2 plaits, and it was like 4 plaits, and then I started doing like, I don't know, crisscrosses in the middle with like plaits on the side, and I don't know, I think I was bored, but every single day I had a different hairstyle, and it just got worse and worse, and then I was having all these like little hair bands that were just kind of just pulling out my hair basically, and I don't really know where that phase came from, but I liked it, but I don't know, if Aaliyah was a singer, then I'm wondering if like something like that is that a sign that maybe I kind of jumped out and then lived 21 years and then jumped back in, only remembered that I've, took up the memories that I had of that life, all the memories kind of attached to the brain, I think, and therefore if it's possible to kind of like die halfway through and then for your soul to live a full life and then come back, and like having a dream, if you have a dream and you're someone else and you have a completely different life, and then you wake up and then you realize that you're Anna, and you've lived all these memories, and I don't know, but that could have been what happened. And I'm just trying to like think, did I change much as a person? Did I like was I different? And I guess I was, but it wasn't unnoticeable. Like I didn't, I felt different, I felt more confident, I felt like I wanted to look good, whereas in the first year of this boarding school, looks weren't really, I preferred to hide, and in the second year I felt very much more like, no, I want to show off my clothes, I want to build up my wardrobe, and I want to wear a different hairstyle every single day. I think in the third year I had actually my depression level had gone so extreme that I'd given up on the hairstyle thing. I'd given up on, hadn't given up on wanting to look good, but my depression was extremely bad at that point. I think I really, really needed to leave, but I was stuck doing the middle of GCSEs this was, and I couldn't I couldn't get out of the depression, because what was making me depressed was that I was stuck in a boarding school feeling like this earth is hell. I was very interested in the past and trying to connect with the past, and studying ghosts, and trying to think what was Earth like and how cool it would have been if you could time travel. And I was very interested in time travel and the idea of trying to visualize the past using your mind, and also see if you can try and contact ghosts and stuff. But I think that put me in a really bad, I don't know why I was, I just felt like I didn't belong here, that this world wasn't meant for me, and I wasn't supposed to be here, and I didn't know why I was here, and just feeling like a prisoner every single day. So but yeah, I just wanted to say that.